I don't want to talk about Dune. I want to talk about slick stuff, neat stuff, cool stuff,
raw stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because that's who I am.
Elijah might not have saw it.
Yeah, he saw that. No, it's Garth Brooks. Like,
oh god, on his YouTube videos.
Yes.
So I'm gonna be making these, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I didn't want to do this at first, but my brother said, you ought to do a podcast, and I was like, if I'm gonna do a podcast, I'm gonna do real. So this is just gonna be me being real, and you guys get to see it, and yeah, just hang on for the ride. So, when I think about the kind of stuff I want to podcast, I want to podcast book stuff, club stuff.
I
like that it's tearing down the covers of the books in between us. Or in this case, paperback.
Hi there. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Book Club. I'm your host and conch holder this week, Dylan Crowder, and I'm joined, as always, by my siblings.
I'm Ansel Crowder.
I'm Elijah Crowder.
And the book for this week is Dune by Frank Herbert. Before we get to that, though, I want to give Elijah a quick opportunity here. You had to leave abruptly in the last episode. Do you have anything to add on the Thrawn discussion that didn't get covered?
No. You guys did great. You actually guessed my 3 favorite Star Wars movies perfectly.
I don't think I can do it now. Wait, let me try again.
Mm-hmm.
Empire.
No.
What? A New Hope?
Rogue. He said Rogue One in the episode.
Yeah, that's
Rogue
right.
One.
Yeah, I pointed that out in the episode.
Yeah.
So that doesn't count.
Right.
So Rogue One,
Empire, and then it was
Last Jedi.
No, I think it was
Force Awakens.
No, I think it was
New
Return
Hope.
of the Jedi.
A New Hope.
Okay.
Yeah.
I said.
Did you guys guess it right on the episode?
I said The Force Awakens, which is pretty much the same thing as A New Hope.
Revenge of the Force. There's Revenge of the Force, Attack of the Last Jedi.
Guys, we're not.
The Phantom
doing Star Wars
Clones.
this week. No. I did have to leave abruptly. I'm okay. I do have to see a couple more doctors.
And he was using the proper form of literally.
Yeah, we thought he just had a
it wasn't funny, but you guys took care of it, and I really appreciate it. And
real quick,
I actually have a quote from Dune that sums it up perfectly.
Okay, let's hear it.
He felt solemn with the sudden realization that his life had become filled with swift changes.
That's good.
I thought you were going to say worm sign.
I felt filled with a terrible purpose.
Real quick though, we talked about our favorite Star Wars character. He was Obi-Wan, the Jedi, Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Jedi.
That's his Christian name.
Yes. Mine was R2-D2. Who's your favorite Star Wars character? I guess, like, now that I think about it, Greedo is probably in the top 5, but we're not going to go there. What's your favorite?
Oh, man, I haven't even thought about that. Favorite character
Just like,
of all?
You should have to think
Thrawn,
about it.
It's Thrawn.
Yeah.
Just shut up and say
Just
it's
like,
Thrawn.
It should be like just like that. First one that pops to mind. That's your favorite.
I was going to say Han Solo. Han Solo.
Just just as the prophecy foretold.
Okay,
He
so
is the Kwisatz Haderach.
I wanted to get that out of the way. So, like, we're done talking about Star Wars
All right,
forever
good.
on the show.
Good, we're done forever. No more Star Wars on the show. It's banned.
All right, so our book this week is Dune. One thing I thought about while I was reading this book, and that I kind of wanted to touch on before we really got into the guts of it, was I believe it might have been Color of Magic, where I was talking about, fantasy didn't have like the literary, in the minds of like critics, like it didn't have like the literary cachet that science fiction can have.
I believe that was in the Terry Pratchett novel where you were, and we agreed with you pretty much.
Right.
Well,
Well,
I think I pointed out that fantasy tramples on creationism a little bit, and that's why it's sort of
Yes, you did bring that point up as well. Very good.
And I'm sticking to that, sticking to my guns on that.
well, like I kind of answered my question like while I was reading this book, and like I think it's because like science fiction can pose like a vision for the future that fantasy can't really pose. I don't know, when you bring magic into the equation, it's
when you're saying when you put something in the realm of fantasy, that's exactly where it is and where it has to stay.
right.
That there's no possibility for it to actually be something.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, I just kind of thought about that while I was reading this.
Waste of time.
Waste of time,
Shouldn't have even
okay.
thought about it. Don't think about stuff like that anymore.
That's a good point.
Lesson one, Conch Master.
I disagree. I think that's a good point. I think I think that's where you get the biggest difference between what is science fiction and then you see things in science fiction later becoming science fact.
Well, yeah, we saw that in Galapagos with
There you
the
go.
what was the little device called? The kanji club.
There's a Macintosh. No, Macintosh was the guy.
Mandarax?
Mandarax, there we
That's
go.
it. Yeah. And then now it's basically what everyone has in their pocket.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a pretty good distinction. I like that.
Cool. That's some slick stuff.
So
All
you
right.
think we're going to have shield belts someday?
I mean,
Absolutely.
I'd be down with a shield belt.
I argued with a physics professor in college about why lightsabers weren't possible. But we're not talking about Star Wars anymore.
Well, now, like, I've seen, like, where they've made, like, a plasma beam contained by a magnetic field, and, like, the magnetic fields of two plasma beams as such would, like, repel each other.
Right, but they lose so much energy in that traveling that
Yeah.
they're not hot enough to do anything.
And also, it can't be contained in a hilt. It's like a machine like the size of a
I keep
table.
getting these reminders like the two of you are the biggest dorks that I know. And it's like on a given day, it's like if somebody asked me who the biggest dorks I know are, I'd be like, I don't really know. But every time we're like,
This is coming from a guy that just told us that he was listening to a interview with Brian Eno where he was listening
what
to
is
his own.
dorky about Brian? Brian Eno rules. What are you talking about?
Like,
Look.
there's such a you are a music dork. You're dorky about music.
I'm stupid.
Look, TIE Fighter, TIE stands for Twin Ion Engines. Ion engines are actually being developed and used now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because you can run off of firing little ions. It's not like it doesn't make the sound that George Lucas thought it would, and it doesn't go as fast. But you could propel something through space almost indefinitely using ions. And that's going to happen. We're going to have ion engines. We're going to have shield belts once we learn how to do cool stuff like that.
And we are going to have the Kwisatz Haderach.
So what you're saying is, here come the warm jets. That's a Brian Eno reference that you guys aren't going to get because you're not down with Eno, but people who are. That is actually a great album.
I'm down with Dune. Let's get back to the book.
So Dune is if you're not familiar with the novel, it's a sci-fi novel, one of the most popular sci-fi novels, I do believe. I haven't taken a straw poll or anything on that, but I mean it got made into a major motion picture by one David Lynch in the 1980s.
Peace be upon him.
It's starring the guy from Twin Peaks and Sting back when he was still stinging.
I tell you
He
what,
was
the guy who played Baron Harkonnen was awesome. In
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Whoever that guy was, he was always.
There's so much.
You know
of that,
who you are.
There's so much of that movie that's really cool. I think.
Yeah.
Like, I read like I don't remember who wrote it. Otherwise, I would say, but like that they did a movie for like the video game Super Mario Brothers. Have you guys thought about that? Super Mario
With
Brothers?
John Leguizamo as Luigi.
Yeah. But
I think the guy that played Baron Harkonnen was the guy that played King Koopa in that.
oh, is that right?
No.
I don't. Oh, okay, whatever. But I was reading like I read something where they were saying that's it's like if you could separate it from its source material, that's actually a pretty cool like steampunk type movie. I'm taking this writer's word for it. I don't remember the movie, but I feel the same.
I have the like faintest recollection of it just being
I remember,
terrible.
I remember it being very bad. And they were like, if you can sort of separate it from what it's supposed to be, you got a pretty rad movie on your hands. But like, and I feel the same way about Dune. Like, visually, it's very cool. Like, you know, like Baron Harkonnen floating around, like laughing, and you having this like oil canister and stuff. Like, it's very neat, but it's not loyal. It doesn't even try to be loyal to the book.
I mean,
to
be fair, like, it's not the worst in that regard. I've seen movies that strayed like much further from the
Agreed.
source material than Dune 1984. Let's see. It was published in. Hold on, I've got this.
I'm guessing 64 is my guess.
I think that might actually be right. It was. There was very little interesting about Frank Herbert's life, from what I gathered from his Wikipedia page.
I've never read it. I'd like to learn more about him. I know absolutely nothing about the man.
Like, I kind of figured that he would be like a planetary ecologist, kind of like Liet Kynes, the character in the book.
I kind of imagine every male science fiction writer being like Andy Daly's L. Ron Hubbard on Dead Authors podcast. So
First draft, last draft.
I feel like Frank Herbert probably talked like this. It's gonna be desert
a whole planet desert,
and worms. It's gotta be worms.
and there's a drug that can make you see the future.
So anytime I think about Frank Herbert, that's like or any science fiction, like William Gibson or Orson Scott Card.
I always pictured Herbert as like Darwin.
Why can't I Google stuff when I need to Google stuff?
What you need to giggle?
I was just looking for the original publication date.
Okay, Google.
Okay, giggle.
When was Dune?
1965. What did you say?
64. So yeah, it's
You-
like yeah,
By
Come on down.
Price is Right rules, you got it.
yeah. That's pretty good guessing.
Could have just asked Mom.
Okay.
I think we rely too much on Google.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's our future overlord. That's the. I mean, and up until the Butlerian Jihad.
Explain the Butlerian Jihad.
Huh?
What is the Butlerian
Explain
Jihad?
the Butlerian Jihad?
Well, like
in a sentence.
I haven't read the Brian Herbert novel, but
you don't
like,
have to.
like
It's not canon.
In the Dune mythology, from what I understand, like there was a robotic uprising, and
Yeah.
the Butlerian Jihad was like the organics defeating the
Artificial intelligence.
the AIs, and after that point, like the AI was banned, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
and like moving forward, like what got us to this point in Dune, like atomics were banned, like AI was banned.
And that's why you have the emergence of the Mentat. It's like that people are just
He's
trained,
an organic computer.
Yeah,
as
it's
a
like
Mentat.
trained to make computations, but without
Exactly.
breaking the rules post Butlerian Jihad.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a cool idea.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we've carried on long enough. We all three of us are very familiar with this book. Dating back to our childhood, we I think for myself, my first exposure to Dune was from the Westwood Studios video game Dune 2.
Ditto.
And that kind of, Westwood Studios went on to create Command and Conquer, which is probably one of the best real-time strategy games ever made. But
Red alert.
yeah, what is the same for y'all? Did y'all play the video game before you saw the movie or read the book?
Yeah, it was for me. Like my first exposure to the Dune universe was through the DOS game Dune 2. It was so good that Mom had a copy of the book. We talked about it a little bit ago, and I was able to date it, but before with our pre-recording banter. This was 1996. You said when I read Mom's copy of Dune, so I was 13, and I only read it because I liked the video game so much. Not a good system, by the way, because I also did the same thing for Rainbow Six, the Tom Clancy game. Like one of the worst books I think I've ever tried. I didn't get too far before I was like, okay.
Chavez was awesome. It's different for me. It wasn't the video game first. For me, it was our Aunt Cheryl had the 1984 David Lynch VHS that she gave us. And I watched that, and then I grabbed Mom's copy of the book and read that. I'm pretty sure. A little foggy on that now. Maybe it was the other way around. Maybe it was the book first and then the VHS.
You saw the movie first, and then you were like, I got to get more of this. Like, I'm not being...
No, because I'm pretty sure Mom told me, hey, the movie's not half as good as the book.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, you got anything, all right, yeah, okay, you saw Dune, but no, you don't know nothing about Dune.
I think if I saw the movie first, I'd be like, that's nice, David Lynch, but I'm going to go do something else. Like, I don't think I would go from the movie to the book.
I think we really got to be careful about slamming the David Lynch movie. Because parts of it are horrible. Don't get me wrong.
Well, look, I said that
it breaks even at the end. You know what I mean? Like, you can watch the 2 hours of it and you're not blown away, but you're not overly disappointed. I mean, this is not something... We've got Denis Villeneuve.
I don't even want to try to pronounce his name.
His
He's
name is
French.
Denis Villeneuve.
Villeneuve.
Nah.
Denis Villeneuve.
No. Yeah, Denis Villeneuve. He's the guy who just did the last Blade Runner movie, which was...
Blade Runner 2049. It was
Which
awesome.
was
incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah.
A beautiful film. And before that, he did something else that he got a lot of.
He did Arrival, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
That
I
was
haven't
very
seen
good
that
as well.
yet. I haven't seen it yet, but it's critically acclaimed. I'm pretty stoked about what he can do with it, but at the same time, I've seen David Lynch's film. Mm-hmm. I've seen the Sci-Fi Channel did an excellent adaptation of
starring
Dune.
William Hurt.
William Hurt as Duke Leto Atreides, and a really good job.
Yeah.
Things were still missing.
Children of Dune was good as well.
Children of Dune was better, I think, with James McAvoy as Leto Atreides. Mm-hmm. This is not easy to do as a film, and I don't think we should slam it too hard.
That's fair.
And I'm kind of scared of what's going to be done with it next as a film, because as far as I'm concerned, they've all failed to bring the full vision of Dune to the screen. Yeah. And I think to do that, you would need about, you know how many movies they use for The Hobbit? Mm-hmm. That's about how many movies it would take to do Dune.
Well, they did just recently say that the Denis Villeneuve Dune film was going to be split into two films. So...
It's fine.
Just two films, not three.
As of now, it's two films. They might choose to put in a barrel rider sequence in there, so that might stretch it out to three. But
it'd be more like a worm rider. All right, that joke didn't land as well as it should.
What were we talking about? Oh, the adaptations. I actually have I'm a fan of Dune. I don't know if I said that. Like, I like this book. I'm all about it.
Well, I mean, I kind of beat around the bush about that. Like when I chose this on the last episode, this is a book that we have all read previously multiple times.
Yeah, played the games for
us. Played the games, seen the movies. Like we are Dune fans.
Yes, I really dig this book. But like as far I haven't watched the sci-fi adaptation of it because David again I appreciate what David Lynch did in a way, but on the other hand it sort of soiled the vision I had for Dune. Now whenever I see the word Mentat, I think about those big ass stupid eyebrows. It's like, what? Mentats don't have big eyebrows. What
do you think about when you see Mentat?
I think about Mentos.
I think about Fallout. Intelligence drugs.
Yeah. I guess that might be
definitely from that. Yeah.
But anyway, any TV or movie adaptation is it just
it kind of spoils it spoils your head canon.
Yes, my sense of the world is skewed in a way that I don't like.
Yeah,
Because-
I kind of had the same thing with like the Harry Potter books because I was still young when like the first movie for Harry Potter came out, and but that did like encourage me to read the books, but I did like when I read the books I saw Daniel Radcliffe, and
Would you say that the only reason you're doing this podcast now is because of Harry Potter?
the only reason I do anything as an adult is because of Harry Potter. Harry Potter is the Dune of the millennials generation.
That is so depressing.
It's true though. Like
Oh.
it really is the Star Wars for millennials.
Oh.
But we're not talking about Harry Potter here. Not
But
today.
I
Or
will
Star Wars.
totally watch the movies when they come out. I will see all three of them, even if they do have barrel riders. I will go.
Oh yeah,
I'll go watch it.
yeah, yeah. I was telling a friend the other day. It pretty much takes a Star Wars to get me out to the theaters.
Yeah.
But I'll go to a theater for a Dune.
Yeah, Dune's it's gonna have something in it you're gonna love,
Yeah,
even if you hate all of it. Just like the '84 film.
yeah.
Even if you hate all of it, something in it you're gonna love. But that's just Frank Herbert's writing, y'all.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I
He's
think it's gonna be
good.
like, I'm sick about had it with these motherfucking worms on this motherfucking desert planet.
Are they gonna retitle it "Worms on a Planet"?
Worms on a plane, PLANE.
That's how airplane is spelled too.
Oh yeah, it is.
All right, so we wasted about 20 minutes.
No, PLAIN would be the.
Yeah, that's what you're going for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hurricanes.
Okay. We're about a quarter of the way through here, and we haven't quite yet talked about the book at all. So,
Well, that's good. People should go read it.
I'll normally
We're operating under the assumption that if they're listening to it, then they've read it already.
Right.
That hasn't happened as of yet.
and of course,
The episode's not out yet, so
there will be spoilers for the book. Henceforth, we're gonna dig in here.
but no spoil. I say no spoilers for like the sequels, New Messiah, Children.
Yeah,
Dune.
fair enough. Let's
Yeah,
keep
let's-
it to the first
Okay,
novel.
well-
You know what I'm saying?
The 13th Gola of Dylan Crowder does not agree with that. But anyway,
This episode just got 20 minutes shorter too, didn't it?
no, it didn't. Let's see.
'Cause I think like Dune Messiah really sort of like any suspicions you had about Paul Atreides as being like a good guy or like as being a bad guy, they were completely supported by Dune Messiah. I feel like maybe this guy isn't so awesome.
Not. We'll say. Look, we'll save that discussion for Dune Messiah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Because no.
He was a bad guy.
No.
He was not a good guy.
He was
No.
filled with a terrible purpose.
Yes. He had evil intent.
No.
No. Terrible, not in that sense of the word.
He was but a leaf on the wind.
That could see where he was being blown.
Yeah. At this point, we would usually say like, what were your initial reactions to this book? But I mean, we can't go.
We can't
Our
do
memories
that.
aren't that good.
Yeah.
But is there anything y'all noticed on this read through that y'all picked up on that really stood
go
out
first.
for you?
I think like the previous time I'd read it, like it was in my late 20s, so let's say about 8 years ago. I was like, okay, this is still a great story, but his prose style is pretty ratchet. That means wretched, but people, that's how they say it now, is ratchet. And yeah, I think like a lot of the writing's really good. Dialogue's okay, but like when they get into like when Paul and Jessica are like in Arrakis, like trying to survive in the open desert, that prose is just really lousy. It's like he reverts to like a high school senior English paper or something like that.
I didn't pick up on that, but like I'm kind of bad at picking up on that because this came through in Thrawn. Like when you read through that section, that was just like comically
That
bad.
was David
Yeah.
Schwimmer,
Like like it went over my head because I was kind of immersed in the story at that point.
I think that's too. When you're talking about Jessica and Paul in the desert escaping the Harkonnens, that's the action. It's them within 20, 30 pages learning how to be desert creatures. And so there's not a lot of time for prose. They're not discussing the great houses of the Landsrot. They're not discussing the Spice Chome Corporation. They're learning, okay, this is pea gravel. You step on it. It makes you fall. This is drum sand. You step on it. It makes drum sound.
It's not that. It's not like driving.
I think it is. I think it's driving narrative that you see as simplistic compared to the rest of it.
It's like the metaphors and like the the sand whipped up like a crazy thing or something like.
Yeah.
Do you have an example?
No, I don't.
Well then,
No. Maybe I miss it. I mean, it's just like the same thing in Star Wars. Like if I get caught up in it, I totally miss that aspect of it.
Yeah, I can really be just like along for the ride 100%. One thing that I highlight, I didn't highlight a whole bunch on this read through. This is when the character Gurney Halleck, he returns to Dune and he's talking with the Duke. What's actually going on in the story is not that important. What is important though is that Frank Herbert does something that's fairly common with like sci-fi books, where sci-fi authors tend to like come up with like terminology for things that don't exist yet or might exist in a different form in the future. But I just felt like this was kind of unnecessary. All right, so this is the character Gurney Halleck, and he's finishing up a conversation with the Duke Leto Atreides. He says, 300 of the best, sire. And then he took up his space bag. Where shall I report to when I've completed my chores? Let me repeat that. He took up his space bag. Francis Herbert, bags can still just be bags. They don't have to be space bags.
That's the thing that's like vacuum sealed. Like you pull out.
Really?
Yeah, that's what that's a space bag. That's the thing. It's not a.
Does it really say space bag? Took up his space bag. Okay.
I stole some pens and some plans. What kind of plans?
What kind of plans?
Space plans.
But yeah, that was just I don't know. That was that's bad writing. To call a bag like a duffel bag a space bag because it's in space, that's silly.
I'm trying to find what Ansel's talking about. I'm looking at.
I'll pull something up later.
Pull something up now. No, I mean you've got a point to make, and I want to see where I missed it.
All right, y'all just keep going. Don't wait for me.
No, calmness drained out of her. Jessica felt her teeth chattering, clamped them together. Then she heard Paul's voice, low and controlled, reciting the litany.
While Ansel's looking up some proof to back up his claim, Elijah, you got something there?
I got something.
Okay.
I found something this time that I didn't find earlier.
Okay, well, let's hear it.
And this is badass. You ready for this?
Okay.
A little bit of foreshadowing.
Oh, I love foreshadowing.
You like foreshadowing?
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about Paul here seeing the worm for the second time. He looked at his hand, how inadequate it appeared when measured against such creatures as that worm.
See, I would.
His father chops his hand off later on?
His son.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I never caught that before. And the second time he sees the worm, he's not in danger from the worm, but he's looking at it and he looks at his hands and thinks how inadequate.
I'm not getting the connection to anything else.
The
Children of Dune?
I haven't read Children of Dune.
Okay, well, there's some foreshadowing for Children
Yeah.
of Dune, which we're not allowed to talk about, but you guys out there on HMS listener know what's up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get to that like 6 weeks from now.
4 weeks. He's
Yeah.
next, and then you got to do Doom
Are you
Messiah.
gonna keep doing
and then I'll
Dune
do
books?
Children. Yeah, we're just.
I've kind
we're
of
gonna
thought
do
about
all
that.
the Dune books.
I think I need to go through them again.
Shit.
I've got one other, like the only other thing that I highlighted, and it's just kind of like a little joke. This is fairly early in the book. Duke Leto Atreides is having a hard time, and this is coming from his own thoughts. He says, "The Duke felt in this moment that his own dearest dream was to end all class distinctions and never again think of deadly order. Duke Leto Atreides was a comrade all along. Who would have thunk it?
Duke Leto has no class.
But reading this, I kind of thought that this book would be a lot better if it didn't reveal so early that Dr. Yui was the traitor. Like if there was that layer of suspense where like you had all the lieutenants of Leto.
That still happens pretty early on, though, and I think that the point of that is just to let you know that that's like the role of a mentat is to like make these sorts of plans. That you know what I mean. It has more to do like
I think
it sacrifices its suspense for to build up like the intellectual prowess of Peter DeVries,
the
mentat, the Harkonnen mentat.
But I think you could do that still without revealing exactly who the traitor was, and then it would build that tension in the first half of the book.
Now, I disagree. I like that you know who the bad guy is, but the victims don't. It's like you're kind of like it's voyeuristic a little bit. In a way, I guess I like that. I like that approach. I see what you're saying, but I think I'm going to side with my brother Frank on this. Sick Frank, bro.
No, like I kind of hinted on this earlier outside of podcast that it's something else I noticed this time reading the book through it. How good Frank Herbert is at villain building, and I think seeing Dr. Yue as the traitor is very voyeuristic, but you also feel sorry for him, and you see why, and you see how he's caught up in this terrible purpose. And when the hammer falls, because you see the hammer falling for the first third of the book, and when the hammer falls, and the Harkonnens go into the house, the shields are down, and they basically just
clean up,
and the Duke's dead, and everything's just screwed up that you've been pulling for the third of the book. I think I can't think of a better, and then this is any Star Wars, anything else included. I can't think of a better villain building than that, because when that happens, you hate Yui. Even if you feel sorry for him, you still hate him.
But
even if you feel sorry for
you've forgotten the tooth.
Yeah, and they fail.
But I mean,
Yui's grand plan fails.
Yeah, but
so he's a complete failure. He's not only a traitor, he's also a complete failure. He's broken against his conditioning that lets him not be a traitor. He's been conditioned to never betray his lord. He's just a Ponzi through it all. So yeah, it is voyeuristic to watch him go through that, but you see him as another character, and you still have to hate him. And then the Baron, and all of the Harkonnens, and the Emperor, and the Sardaukar, all of these who are conspired against this awesome person, Duke Leto.
Secret comrade,
friend of the Landrad. You've got to hate him. It's some of the best villain building in any book. Well done, Mr. Herbert. Well done.
I can get behind that,
Sick Frank.
But I guess there's really no way of telling like how different the book would be if he had concealed the assassin.
Right.
So I don't know. I think that the tension in the first, like you said, the first third of the book would be a lot greater if you think, maybe it's Lady Jessica, maybe it's Thufir Hawat, maybe it's Gurney Howard.
Right. But then you get this play with Jessica and Thufir Hawat that is part of the Harkonnen plot where they're suspecting each other, and both of them are innocent. You wouldn't have had that as well, and that's a major part of the first third of the book.
I do really like how the perspective shifts between characters, and I think you would have to lose that if you're trying to conceal who the assassin was.
Exactly. I agree with that. I like the way it's written.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, perspective shifting is what you said.
So did you ever find any?
No. So I'm not gonna do what I want to do and say it's there. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. I'm gonna retract that until Then if we continue the Dune series, I'll find more examples and I will
That's
highlight
fair.
them. Okay.
That's fair.
But for now, it's like I take it back.
No Harkonnen
It's all
ever
good.
admitted an error.
Well,
Maybe you're not so bad, Ansel.
I'm not an
Atreides.
animal. I'm a human.
There you go.
Thus spoke Gom Jabbar.
Do y'all have any notes that y'all want to go over?
I do.
All right. Well,
Let's
let's
hear
hear.
it. I didn't take any notes, just to answer your question. So, Elijah, you have the conch for a while, I guess.
I want to talk about my favorite character in the book, in two
Okay.
books. Or in two quotes, sorry. How do we approach this? You know, like at the beginning of every chapter, you have an excerpt from something that Princess Irulan has written. For those of you who didn't take the time to read the book, Princess Irulan is a concubine to Paul Atreides by the end of the book. She's
think
the
actually
Emperor's daughter.
Actually
okay.
wedded
Let me
to-
stop you there. Like,
Oh, that's right. That's right. She's the wife.
Yeah, she's the
The
technical wife.
Chani is the concubine
Right.
that he loves and sires children with, but his wife is the daughter of the emperor to solidify him as
God Emperor.
God Emperor of Dune. Foreshadowing.
Ah. Chapter
So-
House.
Before every chapter, there's an excerpt from something that she's written in the histories. And I'm not sure if this was the first book to do that, but like lots of books have done that since. You know what I mean?
Thrawn did that.
Thrawn did that.
I think the term is an epigraph.
An epigraph is? I
An
didn't know that.
epigraph is
An
the term for
epigraph.
like the little. I'll look that up to make sure. Yeah, a short quotation or saying at the beginning of a book or chapter intended to suggest its theme.
Very good. An epigraph. I did not know that's what it's called. So we have these epigraphs from Princess Irulan throughout the book. And all of her epigraphs have something to do with the chapter. And, you know, like vaguely or directly, it's got something to do with the chapter. It's a pretty cool little device. Says, how do we approach the study of Muad'Dib's father? And Muad'Dib is the name Paul takes later. A man of suppressing warmth and surprising coldness was the Duke Leto Atreides. Yet many facts open the way to this Duke, his abiding love for his Bene Gesserit lady, the dreams he held for his son, the devotion with which men served him. You see him there, a man snared by destiny, a lonely figure with his light dim behind the glory of his son. Still, one must ask, what is the son but an extension of the father? I think he's very overlooked in the book. Another
The
quote,
Duke is?
yeah. I think another quote is this is Jessica. This is Jessica's thoughts that he's charming, witty, considerate, tender. Everything a woman could desire, but the other man is cold, callous, demanding, and selfish, as harsh and cruel as a winter wind. That's the man shaped by the father, her face contorted. If only the old man had died when my Duke was born. So she, like, clearly hates the Duke's father and sees only good sides in him.
Also, just to reiterate, Secret Comrade.
Secret Comrade. I think one of the biggest cruxes, one of the biggest plot devices of this book is that this entire planet, the entire setting, is a trap to kill him.
Right. And it pretty much tells you from the get-go, like, his head's practically in a guillotine.
Yeah, he's
from
going to
chapter
die.
1.
He's going to die. And you see very, very soon before the hammer falls, because it's the first third of the book is building up to the hammer
The
falling.
hammer and the sickle.
The hammer before the hammer knocks the sickle down and it falls onto his clearly aware that it's coming neck. He knows he's going to die, and he's walking directly into this trap. And just before
he doesn't necessarily know that he's going to die, but he knows that there's a trap.
Yeah.
And he's trying to outplay them.
there right before the end, he knows he's going to die.
Yeah.
He knows he's going to die. He
Well,
begins.
they
He
say
begins
early
talking.
on, like-
he begins talking to Paul about what he can do to win Arrakis back once he's gone. He begins talking to him about the Fremen and begins telling him, "You need to be ready to do this. You'll have to use guerrilla warfare to get
Desert
and-
power.
Yeah, you'll have to use." And he actually uses the term, "You cannot go renegade and flee. You'll have to stay and use guerrilla warfare. Use the desert power to take back what's rightfully yours." He knows the end's coming, one way or another. He's not going to escape it while they're there. And to me, like, okay, Paul is the central character. until later in the books. But no one really talks about Leto. And Leto is
Leto 1.
Leto the First.
Yeah.
And he's such an awesome character. He's got such mystery and power behind him, and yet he willingly and nobly accepts this fall for the honor of his house to give his son a chance to bring it back to glory. And that's, in a way, I think even the Princess Irulan in one of her epigraphs, epigraphs, she even says was maybe he was also able to see a little bit of the future.
Maybe not necessarily like in a literal sense, but
Right.
He was such a good tactician,
brilliant
and he was so good at playing the game. Yeah, he's like a
Mentat. He's like a Mentat.
and he also has an unending love.
Very much like a Mentat.
He has an unending love for the proletariat, which is admirable.
Right. Well, they have nothing to lose but their chains, brother.
All right, let's talk about the Paul Atreides entourage. You got your Gurney Halleck. You got your.
I thought about this reading through this book. Gurney Halleck. I love the character in the book, but if I knew someone in real life that almost exclusively spoke in quotations of songs, I would punch that person in the face.
I mean, that's like a joke. Like, the guy pulls out an acoustic guitar and everybody's like rolls their eyes. That's that guy. He's the guy at the party. He's like, oh, I gotta.
But at the same time,
I wrote a little song about the Irish.
But at the same time, like Gurney Halleck is like he's a player. He can back up the chords and
he's a sword master for sure.
Oh yeah. But no, that occurred to me because like it seemed like every line he had was like him quoting a song or like a verse from like the Bible or something like that.
The Orange Catholic Bible.
Yeah. Which what was the significance of that? Like the orange.
Religious significance plays throughout all of the Dune books.
Well, yeah, I get that, but like
if you look at the Fremen themselves, they're actually descendants of Sunnis. And if you read the Brian Herbert novels, which I don't suggest you do, but if you do, you find out that they're Zen Sunnis. It's a combination of Zen Buddhism and Sunni Arab from our times. And the Orange Catholic Bible is what ended up becoming the Christian religion from an amalgamation of both Muslim, Catholic, and Protestant religions.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess now would be a good time to point out, like, Dune takes place in our universe, but like 10,000 years in the future.
10,000 years, or 8,000 years from now,
okay.
Yeah. In the year 10,000 something. In the year 10,000.
That's 2 Conan references within 3 minutes, so that's pretty good.
What was the other one?
I wrote a little song about the Irish.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, I should be that, right? The crooner, the crooner ghost.
How many Conan references can we fit into 10 minutes?
I don't know. We should, instead of Star Wars all the time, we should switch to late night. Yeah.
Late night Conanisms. Like the Onanisms, like the masturbating bear.
Well, let's put some preparation H on this, Raymond. And do you have any more notes?
I don't.
Highlights?
That was my last notes. I just wanted to talk about how awesome Leto is as a character.
I've always pronounced it Leto.
Leto, like your pronunciation has been on fleek the whole evening, but Leto, I can't get behind that. How did you say Irulan? You said Irulan.
Yeah.
It's a soft U, dude. Irulan. Not Irulan.
Semantic. We've come back to semantic satiation.
Semantic association.
Semantic satiation.
Like I'm not gonna get too caught up on like the pronunciation of names from a guy that.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm
just saying this guy wrote the word spacebag, so like the pronunciation of the names, I'm not too worried about.
That's spacebag.
Spacebag.
The spacebag, literally, like I'm not joking. Literally, Elijah. Literally, those like bags that you put your clothes in, and then
like
you
the
use
vacuum. They're called space bags.
Like suck the air out with a vacuum. They're called space bags.
So like to save space.
So Thufir Hawat put his. It
was Gurney.
His Gurney.
Yeah,
okay, put his balisette in and.
Okay, I didn't catch spacebag, but it fits.
But I mean, like that's a common thing.
But they just got in from space in that passage,
Right,
right? They
right,
just
right.
landed on the planet.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not his normal bag. It's not his day bag. It's not his night bag. It's not his cosmetic bag. That's the bag he takes to space.
Maybe I'm just a little.
Space bag.
Maybe I'm just a little too utilitarian about language. Like a bag is a bag is a bag.
Like, what would you call it? Like, if you were if you're about to go on an interstellar trip, let's say you're going to Uranus, which isn't really interstellar, but interplanetary.
Mine is.
Oh snap!
It is now after last episode.
Don't make me laugh too hard.
But let's say you're going on an interplanetary trip, and you're asking mom, is like, "Hey, have you seen my bag?" And she says, "Like the bag you're planning on taking to Uranus."
Yeah.
And she said, "What bag? What would you call it?"
My,
You would say, "I'll answer the question for you." You would say, "My space bag." That's just like that's what you would call it. It's like
Or a
you don't need.
travel bag.
my pink sock.
I'm going to defend Frank Herbert here. Space bag is not that bad. It's just like, why would you have to have a special name for it, other than space bag?
Like he could have used duffel bag would have been fine.
But that could have been like a bag you would carry around Dune, and not like your. I don't know.
I've noticed that, like, the amount of words that he took from other languages and used them as futuristic space words is also pretty prevalent. Like, there's a German word in here that's, man, I can't even. It was used to describe the excitement one see, or to delay, like you want something, but you delay instant gratification. You know how like Germans build words for everything,
like how Germans live their entire lives delaying gratification.
Yeah, yeah, pretty
Das
much.
ist not funny.
Pretty much. Spannungsbogen. That's the word.
Spannungsbogen.
And then, like, one of the characters says, "Oh, he displays great Spannungsbogen." And I was like, "Dude, I know what that means." That's like, and then it explains what it means, and I was like, "Yeah, that's what I thought it meant."
Well, like you saying that the Fremen were like an amalgamation of like Sunni and Zen.
Mhm.
Like I'd always kind of you can kind of pick up that the Fremen have very Islamic background just based on like the terms and stuff that they use.
A lot of the words, like,
I mean, there's even an owl, something, right? Or Shai Halud, I guess maybe is what I'm thinking of. That's
well, there's several Arabic words, like a Ghanima, which is a little bit foreshadowing as well. That's the sister that comes later in the books. Her name actually does mean treasure won from battle in Arabic. There was this kid, and I blew his mind because he was from Afghanistan, and I just knew all these Arab words and what they meant. And he was like, "How do you know that?" And I was like, "Well, it's from Dune." What was the other one? Like a siege.
Mm-hmm.
That's the place of power. That's a real.
Okay.
And his name was actually Naib.
Mm-hmm.
And the Naib is the leader of the Fremen, the leader of a siege. And when he said, "Hi, my name's Naib," I was like leader, and he spoke English and German and Arab, and he was like, "Yeah, how do you know that?" I'm like, "Frank Herbert, dude." I was just curious.
And like because of that, I kind of assumed that like Frank Herbert had a background really similar to J.R.R. Tolkien, like a linguistics or maybe like a planetary ecologist background, but. Like I did a really shallow dive into his Wikipedia page, and I didn't really find that.
He was the commander of McDonald's.
For those of you who don't know, we're talking about a podcast called Dead Authors Podcast. It's good stuff.
I think the greatest episode of a podcast in my history of listening to podcasts is that L. Ron Hubbard episode.
Yeah,
It's my
that's
favorite.
probably one of the
Makes me
funniest
laugh
things
every
ever.
time I listen.
Yeah.
Paul Tompkins.
And who's the guy? Andy? Who played
Andy
it?
Daly.
Andy Daly. He does good stuff. Really good stuff.
All right, is there anything else specifically Dune related that we want to get to before we wrap this up?
I think we should maybe try to do the book justice. We should.
Well, it's kind of like the movies. Like it's really hard to do the book
Ow.
justice.
But I don't feel like we really tried.
Let's save that for the ratings.
Well,
'Cause
let's not set expectations too high because
Well,
I have not thought about my rating yet. So
I haven't either.
Here's one thing I did want to say, and I'm glad I remembered this. reading this. I couldn't help but compare it to the previous, like, really hard sci-fi novel that we did in the club, Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin.
Ditto.
And despite the
Also a Hugo and Nebula Award winner.
can I finish a goddamn thought?
It was just a. Let's take it again. 3, 2. Oh, also that's also Hugo and Nebular. Hey, The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. That was also a Hugo and Nebula award-winning book, just like Frank Herbert's Dune.
Thank you for interrupting me, Ansel, and imparting that wisdom to us. But yeah, like I couldn't help but kind of compare the two while I was reading. And despite the nostalgia that I have for Dune, it didn't really hold up to The Dispossessed. Like I dug The Dispossessed a lot more than I enjoyed Dune, and I think it really says more about The Dispossessed. And it's like I still love Dune, and I think like really the world building of Dune is better. But as far as like the actual novel itself, The Dispossessed outpaces it.
I actually like. It's hard to say that because like Dune, you know, it's been there for me all along.
When there were only one set of footprints, that's where Dune carries you.
Carrying me. But I agree with you. I think like this. Well, let me put it this way. A friend of mine on Facebook said she was looking for book recommendations, but she did it in an interesting way. She said, Which books have you read the most? Like not your favorite. You know, don't tell me what you like the most. What's your favorite book? Like what book have you read repeatedly the most? And like I said, I think that's a cool way to get book recommendations because like people might not want to admit it, but it was between 3 for me. I said Dune, Cannery Row, and Mother Night, the Kurt Vonnegut book. And I told her, like, okay, every time I read Mother Night, it gets better. It's just like it gets better and better and better. It's amazing. Cannery Row pretty much is the same. It's a great book, but it's exactly how I remembered it. Every time I read Dune, it gets like worse. You know what I mean? I still love it, but I do think that The Dispossessed is a hair better than Dune in my opinion. But I'll have to read The Dispossessed again. Again, I love Dune. I think it's a great book, but.
So it's not really a rating, but we're just weighing in on Dispossessed and Dune.
Yeah.
I also thought about Dispossessed several times while this read through, but you guys know me. I'm into the Tolkien detailed level of world building, and for me, I've got to go with Dune on this. I love Dispossessed. I'm in the same boat. I mean, Dispossessed was awesome, character wise, novel wise, story wise, driving wise. Dune has everything for me. The political intrigue is there. The battles are there. The world building is there. It's all crammed in there in a relatively short span of pages. I mean, it's still 700, 800 pages.
Yeah, I'd kind of forgotten how dense this book was.
It is a beast. It's an epic beast is what it is.
But when you consider what's in there and how I think we talked about it. This was the 6th time reading it for me. I found more things that I missed all 5 times before. So I've not had this experience of it getting worse. Every time I read Dune, it gets better. And now, to be fair, I've read The Dispossessed once, and that's the only Le Guin novel I've read, so I can't really speak on this from a position of authority, but just from what I prefer, Dune's got it.
Cool. Do y'all kind of want to? Ansel talked about like the books that he has read the most just a minute ago.
Yeah, let's just
Yeah. I'll go. For me, like just off the top of my head, it's got to be number 1. Slaughterhouse-Five is the one that I've read. Like I'm not really prone to like rereading stories that I know. Like usually when I read something, like I know the story, I'm pretty much good at that point. But Slaughterhouse-Five is a book that I've gone. It's probably like 4 or 5 times that I've read that. I'll do my top 3 like Ansel did. Dune's up there. This is either the 3rd or 4th time I've done Dune, and I want to say maybe Survivor by Chuck Palahniuk. I think the time that we did that for the club, it was the 3rd time I read it.
But you said, okay, that's just the 3rd time. You said that's not your favorite Palahniuk novel, though. You said
Right, no.
Rant's better?
Rant is a riot.
Elijah?
Lamb, the Gospel according to Just kidding.
Great
just
book.
Kidding, just kidding. Just kidding.
It's an excellent book.
I love the book. I do think it's a funny book, and I have read it 3 times, to be honest. But I've read 3 more books more than 3 times.
Imagine being the kind of person. Sorry.
With a pink sock.
I want this podcast to continue beyond this episode.
sorry.
With a pink sock that likes to read Christopher Moore's Lamb, the Gospel according to Biff.
You said it. You said it, not me.
All right. No. I've read the Silmarillion at least 4 times.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That is insane, dude. What is wrong with you?
This is the 6th time I've read Dune, and what have I read more than Dune?
And like I kind of excluded stuff like Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Little Critter was my jam growing up.
Little Critter was awesome.
Yeah, Little
You
Critter.
could always find the spider.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only other thing that comes on top of those is the Lord of the Rings trilogy entire, which I've read at least 5 or 6
That's
times.
kind of cheating using that. I guess the Red Book of Eastmarch, you can count that as one book. Or no, that's what the Hobbit is the Red Book of Eastmarch. Or is that like the
No. What?
like the
No, I mean, like, if you take Fellowship of the Rings, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King, I've read each of those at least 5 times.
Okay. Well, like in the fiction, like Bilbo / Frodo's book is called like the Red Book of Eastmarch or something like that.
Is it? I mean, Bilbo's is there and back again.
Okay. In Tolkien's narrative conceit, in which all the writings of Middle-earth are translations from the fictitious volume of the Red Book of Westmarch.
Oh, wow.
Bilbo is the author of the Hobbit. But I think it's...
All right.
The Red Book of Westmarch, sometimes Red Book of the Perianeth, and the Downfall of the Lord of the Rings, also known as Thane's Book, after its principal version, is a fictional manuscript written by hobbits, a conceit of author J.R.R. Tolkien to explain the source of his fantasy writings.
Very cool. I did not.
So yeah, that's the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings combined.
So I've read the Red Book of Westmarch more than anything else.
Okay, the books I've read the most. It's really just only 2. I've only read 2 books. It's Behind the Paint, Insane Clown Posse. This Killer J and Silent Bob, and Kiss and Make Up by Gene Simmons.
You're not fooling anybody.
Oh no! Is it time?
No, we're out of time.
Oh,
Maybe next week. But no
Aw.
promises. You want to? You guys want to do it?
Well, I guess it's time for me to pass this conch and put that ball in your court.
well, we got to do ratings.
Oh yeah, we do.
And
Got to
it's
do
your
ratings.
episode too. I don't want to do it on your
No,
episode if
we
you don't want
do
to.
it on your episode. I don't want to lose the crown on your episode.
Can't we, like, you want to do it and do like a hour? This is the only time we'll get like the 3 of us to do it. Maybe.
Like do it live. Are we
You wanna
talking
do it
about
live?
We talk about an episode of a little game.
Yes.
I mean, why not?
All right, let's do it.
Well, let's
Well,
skip the ratings. We love Dune. Skip the ratings and let's do Kiss or ACD.
Let's do ratings.
Let's
Why?
do ratings are like our thing.
Yeah, we
Well,
have to
let's
do
do 'em
ratings.
quick.
All right, somebody got something in hand?
Yeah,
for
well,
ratings?
I have like something that I've had in my back pocket. It's like my Hugo Award. It's called the Book Club Medal of Great Bookness. Of Greatness. Book Club Medal of Greatness. It's the highest rating I can give to a book as a member of Book Club. I'm gonna, since it is an amazing world that has been built by one Frank Herbert, I give it the Book Club Medal of Greatness.
Is that the 2018 Book Club Medal of Greatness?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah?
It's an annual
I give it the
award.
2019 Book Club Medal of Greatness.
And I give it the 2020. No. Let's see. I just give it a one Shai Hulud.
One Shai Hulud?
Yeah.
How many Shai Huluds?
Yeah.
I mean, in the wild desert plains.
May his coming cleanse the way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Good.
Yeah, one Shai Hulud.
We love this book.
Yes. I love the world of Dune. I love... Yeah. And this isn't the last we've heard from Dune on the book club, I do believe.
I know, absolutely not. But Star Wars is banned.
I mean,
Forever or just this episode?
I was thinking just this episode.
Oh.
Like, once you see Solo, you're going to want to talk about it.
Once you have shtick, you can't unshtick. We have shtick.
It kind of sticks to you.
Exactly.
Well, all right then. Well, all right, conch holder. What's left to do?
Bounce pass.
Dunk. Got it. Before I give my recommendation, it's time for a little Is It Kiss or ACDC?
That's never going to get old.
Never. All right, as defending champion, what do I get?
Elijah, yeah, you do have the Paul Stanley Cup. So,
Forgot about
winner
Paul
of the
Stanley
winner of
Cup.
the Paul Stanley Cup right here.
so
I was 3 for 3 and won the Paul Stanley Cup.
Like, you might want to give it. I don't know. Dylan's looking fierce over here.
No, I
He's
want to
looking to steal.
I want to defer and give him the first song.
Okay.
Well, you can't do that because I just tossed a coin and it said that you go first. So,
No, you didn't.
I ain't scared. Give me this.
no, actually, the rule is it is written that the owner.
Where is it written? You're as bad as Mom making up game rules as you go.
All right, whoever holds the Paul Stanley Cup chooses who goes first and who goes second.
I defer.
Okay, so you defer. All right, Dylan, Kiss or AC/DC? Give me life for the taken. Give me love till I'm shaken. And give me rules just for breaking because it's never enough, never enough, never enough.
I'm going to say that is AC/DC. No way.
Oh, it's a Kiss?
It is Kiss. It's Kiss. The song is Never Enough from the album Sonic Boom. It came out in 2009. So I understand why you would say AC/DC because
How am I so bad at this game? I have yet to get one right.
I totally thought that was AC/DC. I would have got it wrong too.
okay, Elijah.
All right, my confidence is shaking now. You're playing for keeps this time.
So you thought that was AC/DC?
I totally did. That sounds
I mean,
like something.
That's why we had a game here.
AC/DC loves talking about taking lives.
And breaking rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elijah,
Mm-hmm.
Kiss or AC/DC?
Kiss.
Is that your final answer?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
I can't. No.
Yeah, I don't want to hear the song. I hate Kiss and AC/DC. I'm gonna say
You just
Kiss.
want- huh?
Right or not right?
No. Let me read it because that's the whole. That's.
All right, go ahead and read it. But it's Kiss.
It may or may not be.
Yeah, go ahead and read it. Read it.
But this is like my favorite one so far. You can't like cut me off.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
This is the best one.
All right, go ahead.
That almost guarantees that it's Kiss.
All right. Well, I met her in the garden underneath that old apple tree, sitting with a handful of flowers, looking as cool as can be. We talked away a couple of hours. Then she laid her hand on my lap. Oh, I thought I got to be dreaming. I didn't know I fell in her trap. Is that Kiss or AC/DC?
Kiss.
That's AC/DC Soul Stripper
Soul Stripper.
from their Jailbreak EP that came out in 1984.
Oh man, I gotta get that one.
It's good. It's a good one.
So we're both 0 for 1.
Oh, for
Yeah,
one.
over one.
Like this game can technically go on like it's best out of 3,
Yeah,
right?
it's best out of 3, and then sudden death after that.
Okay.
All right. Dylan.
That reminds me, I got to check fantasy baseball scores while you go. I got a close game with him this week.
All right, Dylan, you ready?
I'm ready.
Kiss or AC/DC? We're kissing in Dallas, and Philly's going wild. So let's kiss Atlanta. Ho, you know we'll make it smile. We love the women way down in Tennessee. So baby, come on now and start kissing me.
That has to be Kiss. Like there, like no doubt in my mind that
Is that your final answer?
That is my like. It's got to be Kiss.
Ding.
Yes.
All right.
That's fine. I'm beating
Wow,
you in
that's-
fantasy baseball.
The name of that song is Kissin' Time.
Oh god.
And that's from the album Kiss. It came out in 1974. Presumably their debut album.
so bad.
It's all so bad. That's what makes this so good.
So you're 1 for 2. Uncle
Garbage.
D-Dog.
What was that? They like kissing ho in Atlanta?
Well, so let's kiss Atlanta, comma, ho.
Oh, I misunderstood that.
I think it's a rock and roll ho and not a
Not a hip hop.
not an R&B ho. Yeah.
Oh, it's so stupid.
All right. Dylan, you're 1 for 2. Good job. Elijah, is it Kiss or AC/DC?
All right, I'm ready.
This is a good one. On the day I was born, the rain fell down. There was trouble brewing in my hometown. It was the 7th day, I was the 7th son, and it scared the hell out of everyone. They said stop, I said go. They said fast, I said slow. They say yes, I said no. I do the bad boy boogie.
Could I have the question again, please?
The question is it Kiss or AC/DC?
Definition. Okay, wait. Oh God.
You want me to read it again? I'll read it again. On
No,
the
I really don't want you to read it again.
I want to read it
I
again.
just don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to hear this shit again. I just don't want to guess wrong.
On the
But
day,
they said yes. Well, I said hell no or something. They used the word hell. Yes.
let me read it again.
They used the word hell. Yes.
let me just read it for
Did
you.
they
again.
use the word hell?
No, that's not in the rule. Like he can't confirm that. He can repeat the stanza.
Repeat it. All right. Repeat the stanza, please.
On the day I was born, the rain fell down. There was trouble brewing in my hometown. It was the 7th day, I was the 7th son, and it scared the hell out of everyone. They said stop, I said go. They said fast, I said slow. They said yes, I said no. I do the bad boy boogie.
That is AC/DC.
Final answer.
Final answer. Ding! Yeah!
All right. That is Bad Boy Boogie from Let There Be Rock, which is 1977. A good message no matter how you feel about AC/DC. Yes, indeed, Let There Be Rock. Right?
Agreed.
Yes.
Ooh, this is getting tough.
So it's tied, 1 for 2 each of you, right?
Yeah.
All right. Dylan, Kiss or AC/DC? I'd like to say a word or two about the women we all seem to know. They're all around us. They're everywhere. You meet them this place and then meet them there. Then you decide to pick a mate.
It's Kiss. It's Kiss. Like only Kiss can be that bad.
Ding.
Finally, yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's Kiss. That's definitely Kiss from. That's called Two Sides of the Coin.
Do you want to finish the stanza?
Yeah.
Not really.
please.
No, I feel like the quality of our show is like diminished because I read that one. But yes, you're right. So you guys are both what?
I'm 2 for 3. He's 1 for 2.
Okay.
He's got to get this one to stay
You got to
alive.
get this one right to stay alive. Ooh. All right, and I'm just going to follow the rules and read you this one, Elijah. Kiss or AC/DC? Okay. You've got problems in your life of love. You got a broken heart. He's double dealing with your best friend. That's when the teardrops start, fella.
AC/DC.
Really?
AC/DC. Final answer. Final answer.
Ding.
Ding. I actually know this song.
That's, of course, it's Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap.
Yep.
One of the greatest songs of all time.
Yep.
From the album Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, 1976.
Woo! One of my favorite songs.
That's dirty balls.
Dirty Balls. Oh, now it's Sudden Death.
Yeah. Sudden Death. Okay.
We're going to have to trim out some more podcasts to fit in this game of Is It Kiss or AC/DC?
We could always, like, remove it and do it
As
in
a
the next
special
episode.
off the side. No, just like a bonus.
We can put it in the next episode. What
We'll
is it?
do like a bonus episode.
So you don't
Kiss or
understand
AC/DC.
you don't understand the power of editing. We can edit
We
this.
can do anything.
I'm just saying you could have a bonus episode of Kiss or AC/DC.
That's stupid. That's bullshit. Okay. All right. All right. This is Sudden Death.
All right.
I guess I'll just come around and have you whisper in my ear.
Okay.
So here we go. I'm a wanted man, public enemy number 1. Understand? So lock up your daughter, lock up your wife, lock up your back door, and run for your life. The man is back in town, so don't you mess me around. All right. Okay. What do you think, Dylan?
I agree with Elijah. I say it's AC/DC.
It is AC/DC. That's TNT from High Voltage. He heard you.
TNT. That's my jam.
All right.
How are we going to do this? Are we going to like write it down on a sheet of paper and hand it to you, or what?
Well, I'll do it under the table. Do it under the table.
All right. That's
Yeah,
more
yeah, yeah.
fair.
Paper.
What?
Paper.
You got something to write with?
I do.
All right.
All right.
Now prepared for sudden death. Is it Kiss or AC/DC?
All right. Kiss or AC/DC? When it comes to loving, Big Jack is on his way. Wink of satisfaction. His time is going on. I'm like a bad defender, smoking Holy Joe. He's a big pretender. Gonna press the flesh, rock and rollin' soldier. He's the last of them all. We tell Jack he's on his way. No, we'll tell Jack he's on his way. That will. We'll tell Jack he's on his way.
No, Dylan was finished first. You can take mine after you take Dylan's.
It's on the other. It's not like that.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, you guys both said Kiss.
Yes.
This is actually AC/DC.
Oh,
This is
man.
Big Jack from
Threw us for a loop there, Dylan.
Black Ice. This is current AC/DC. So there was a platform switch in the late aughts. Just remember that.
A platform boot switch.
Good. All right.
All right, next one.
All right.
Oh, this is getting better and better.
Okay.
This duo keeps getting better all the time.
I'll try spinning.
Kiss or AC/DC, guys. Overtime, round 2. You pay your taxes, you pay the rent until you haven't got a cent. It's the law of the jungle. If you got the hunger, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. All alone, far from home, and you're feeling cold as stone. Don't give up, don't give in. Life's a bitch if you lose or win. Okay. You guys both said AC/DC.
Yes.
It's Kiss.
Oh man.
I guess there's a reason this game works.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I was just going to say. I think this proves something,
All right.
definitely.
Kiss, it's called Betrayed, and it's from the album Hot in the Shade, 1989. So this is the third overtime. If you guys tie again, it's
a
like
tie.
it's a stalemate. Elijah keeps the Paul Stanley Cup, and you're just going to have to fucking get over it, Dylan. Okay?
Ooh.
You understand?
I've got advantage. It's advantage in.
You got it?
Yep.
You understand the rules?
Add in.
I do not agree with them, but I understand them.
Well, it's written, so.
Where is it written?
Can we request a copy of the rule book?
Seriously.
I'm working on it.
like no purchase necessary?
It's a Google Doc. You guys didn't get the link?
No.
All right. This is a good one. This is a good one to end on.
All right.
Kiss or AC/DC? Here we go. There's fighting on the left and marching on the right. Don't look up in the sky. You're going to die of fright. That's what it says. You're going to die of fright if you look up in the sky. That's all you got. Ooh, we have a difference. We have different answers. Elijah, you said Kiss.
I did.
Dylan, you said AC/DC. This is, in fact, AC/DC.
Oh, no!
This is the song "The Razor's Edge." You guys should know this.
I think I did like recognize it. I couldn't put the song to it, but
The Razor's Edge is what the song is.
He got it right, so who's the real winner?
It's from the 1990s. Well, he's got the Paul Stanley Cup now. Go ahead and pass it over. You brought it.
Yep, here it is.
Congratulations,
Sorry,
Dylan, on your Paul
drinking
Stanley Cup.
hurricanes out of it.
I can't be more enthused. I'm gonna.
Enthused.
This is your first Paul Stanley Cup victory, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I mean, and it's really historic being like an expansion team in the first year in the Kiss or AC/DC league. To be in the Paul Stanley Cup Finals is really historic, and
you did a terrific job. It was down to the last minute, and it's very exciting. Congratulations, Elijah. Go suck an egg.
Hey, I just got to say they came out and they kissed their AC/DC better than we did. I mean, we tried to block them on the perimeter, but it just wasn't
We're not
there.
interested in what you have to say.
Gave 110%.
We gave 110% just like we do every Kiss or AC/DC, and I just got to say, if it wasn't for Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, I wouldn't be here to do throw it up to JC. I wouldn't be here for the Kiss or AC/DC finals, and it's just been a pleasure.
If it wasn't for Jesus Christ Superstar, I wouldn't have gotten into the Kiss or AC/DC, made it to the finals. So,
but it's all just it comes down to conditioning. We got to work harder next time.
all right, shut up. My pick for next week. Okay, thank you for playing as a Kiss or AC/DC, gentlemen.
It's been a
Shake
pleasure.
hands.
It's been a pleasure. Congratulations, Dylan.
Thank you,
Well
thank
done.
you.
Well done.
Suck it, champion.
All right. So, my pick for 2 weeks from today, I decided a long time ago that I want to make this like a sci-fi triptych. You had your Thrawn, you had your Dune. I want to do the other Ursula K. Le Guin novel.
Oh, nice.
Her magnum opus, The Left Hand of Darkness. Supposedly, also I think it also won like both Hugo and Nebula awards.
Right.
Nebula. Why do I keep doing that?
It's like nuclear.
Nuclear.
Nebula.
Now, is this like the next book in the series?
Well, there is no sequence for the Hainish novels.
Nonsense.
Has to be a sequence.
Well, all right. I did like a quick glance at what the order ought to be, and they were just like, okay, the chronology of the story and the chronology that they were written is just all bugaboo. Doesn't really matter. Okay. They're all self-contained. So next week's book is going to be The Left Hand of Darkness. I'm going to take this conch and give it back to you. Here you go.
Well, thank you. I was actually kind of, I kind of mentioned it in this book that Dune made me think a lot about the dispossessed, and I was kind of wishing that hey, I kind of wish I'd pick the next book in the Hainish cycle. So yeah, that's really exciting. I'm really looking forward to that.
It's going to be it's going to knock your socks off.
I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to knock your socks out.
Gross.
Too late.
We'll literally be back in 2 weeks to club the Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. Make sure to head over to bookclubcast.com. We've got links to the iTunes page, RSS feed, all things book club that you need are there.
You can find all episodes on the Reddit. That's r/bookclubcast.
Yeah, and if you have any comments or anything, you can leave them there on the Reddit. You can email us, bookclubcast@gmail.com. If you have any thoughts on Dune or the Hainish Cycle by Ursula K. Le Guin or any other books, just shoot us a line and let us know. Anything else, guys?
No.
No.
All right. Well, yeah, that sounds good. We'll see you 2 weeks from now when we club The Left Hand of Darkness from Ursula K. Le Guin. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Toodaloo.
See ya.
Take care now.